I think for me, because I had tried so many times, at the end of the day, I was like, okay, I need to have someone in the team who can do this better than me. And as entrepreneurs, it's hard because we need to be good at everything. Well, as many things as possible.
If you don't know where you're going, it doesn't matter which path you take. And if you don't know where you're going, you're just gonna take any path at any given point. But if you know exactly where you're going, then you can create that path that you need to go through, right? Or grab a path that has been tested before to achieve those goals. And I think that's very, very important.
Community means different things to different people. I think that's probably the first thing that we need to acknowledge. Like, what does community actually mean to you?
So let's talk about what's happening in January. FONZI doesn't know.
Yeah, I'm excited. No, you're going to be awesome. I'm going to make sure you're going to be awesome.
I know.
Okay, where are you at your business? Which bit do you really need to focus on? And let's go deep into that. It's for entrepreneurs who are creating content because, as you know, content is profit. So you got to be creating content.
We've got some fresh new young talent doing some things that I know you haven't
welcome to the
heard
Content
before.
is Profit Podcast.
Listen.
In here, you're gonna get the insights, accountability, and drive to create consistently and increase revenue.
You'll hear from top entrepreneurs, creators, and anything and everything you need to know about content. All this while having a good time.
The goal of this podcast is simple: entertain, educate, and turn your content into profit.
Hey! We got the kiddos cheering for us today.
I almost missed that intro. I was like scrolling with rage. I was like, where is it? I can't find it.
We are in episode 450 and FONZI does not know the intro yet.
You know, there's only so much memory, so much things I can memorize in my brain. So
anyways, guys, I'm so excited because today's guest, she was in episode 378. We talked a little bit about her business and the solution in AI that they're working on. And there's been a lot of evolution since then, and we are having a surprise that is something that's super cool that's happening in January, and we're gonna talk all about this. But also, I'm very impressed on how, one, they've handled their community, two, how massive fans they have, like fans, evangelists, and people actually using their product, which is one of the things, when you come to technology. And also, she's become this dear friend,
she's our event bestie.
Event bestie.
Yeah, she's one of our event bestie. Every time we go to the events, her and her crew are there, and it's amazing. We have a lot of fun.
That's right. So, with that said, guys, please welcome back to the show our besties, Deidre.
I was just waiting for what my intro music was going to be. What were you gonna lay down for me to enter?
Yeah, it's been a while since we do custom intros.
We're gonna have to. We're gonna have for repeating. Maybe that's a perk.
Yeah.
The guest can kind of unlock at your fifth.
Yes.
At your fifth guesting in Content is Profit, you unlock your own custom intro music.
I know.
I love that. All right, I'm aspiring to that. So 5, you say. So I've got 3 more, and
there
then I
go.
get my own custom intro music.
Absolutely. Deidre, I mean, for those who, just met you again, I've cited the episodes 378. We're going to link it right below in the notes. But, tell us a little bit, the 3-sentence, who you are, what your company, and what are you guys doing today?
Yeah, so I am the CEO and co-founder of Capsho, which is an AI-powered content marketer. Essentially, our Capshovians upload their audio or video file, and in under 10 minutes, it creates almost all of their content marketing assets for them. Now, first draft, because as we know, it's AI, and with AI, you've got to make sure that you're on top of what it is that it's creating for you. But yeah, everything from social media posts to emails to show notes and LinkedIn articles and blog posts and identification of clips and quotes. It gives you pretty much everything you need.
Content galore. Content galore. I remember, I think we initially, either was the first event or second event that we met in Funnel Hacking Live, and we were walking, right? I think going back after one of the sessions, I'm like, Deidre, you guys have a piece of the framework that we utilize internally for our content team and different things, and we're kind of discussing that. We're content nerds. And I was like, imagine this software that, you press a button and, all these clips are done perfectly and all that. And you guys, I think that happened 2 years ago. And what you guys have now is so close to it. It's so amazing.
Yes.
And just recently we did a clipping masterclass in your community, and that was such a fun experience, right? You were like, hey, let's test the product, as in, we give you guys these results of from like 1 hour interview, where can we find these clips? And then you guys come in and you show like, how do we turn that into video content, right? Or even if there's no video, how can we do something visual? And that was so much fun, right? It's very creative type of deal. And we were your community was so accommodating and it was incredible. So I was like, oh my gosh. After that experience, like, this is the type of community that we really want to be involved with and help and support and be connected to. So I want to say thank you for that. And thank you for putting community first, because you can tell like the people that are in your community using your software every single day. You guys are super engaging in there, helpful. You guys provide a ton of value and provide different solutions for a lot of people, right? We've learned that in the content journey, there's many stages, right? And really, when the last couple episodes, we talked a little bit about community, and it's like, how do we serve them? How do we help them? How do we, provide these resources for them to elevate? So for your community, what are some of the things that, maybe some of the biggest challenges? Because we have people that tune in that maybe they're looking into developing their own community. They might have a community already, but they're looking for a way to re-engage. What are some of the things that you've been focusing on this last year?
Oh my gosh, that's a loaded question. let me how to answer. Okay, so community means different things to different people. I think that's probably the first thing that we need to acknowledge. Like, what does community actually mean to you? For us, it was, because a community can be like, and we tried so many different things, by the way. So we had a group on Facebook. Yeah. We had, back in the day, we were even on Circle. We were trying all of these different things. We tried like Slack. So there's the channel part of the community. And then there's the actual, like, what do you want to the community to be based around? Yeah. Because I think that's the thing. It's so seductive to be like, oh yes, we have a community, but we have done so many things that haven't worked. And even now we're still trying to figure it out, to be honest, about what does work and what doesn't. But it actually, because it takes so much out of you that to build a community, you have to commit like 100%, 110% to it, because it's not one of those things that you can just stand up and it just happens. Yeah. You have to put so much into it. And so for us, we did the whole Facebook group back almost a year ago or something. We had a Facebook group. We had, like a decent amount of people in there. But to be honest, I'm not I'm such a, how do I say this? Like, I'm an introvert. That's part of the reason why, but I'm also like not a huge digital communicator, if that makes sense. Like, my first thought isn't, let me hop on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. And, it's not the best way to think about it. Like, everyone should be thinking about, if you're going to be on social media, you've got to be social. Like, that's, at the end of the day, the crux of it, but that's not where my mind goes. And so I always struggled with, every time we wanted to build a community, I was like, okay, well, what do I say, or what do I put in there, or what? And I feel stupid sometimes for like posting what I think might be really relevant things. And so that's the thing. I think a lot of it is like, gosh, there's so many things to break down. It's like, what do you want the community to be around? And if it does need to involve you, how do you get out of your own way in terms of building that community? I think for me, because I had tried so many times, at the end of the day, I was like, okay, I need to have someone in the team who can do this better than me, because we know that it's something that we want to focus on, but it's just not my strength. And as entrepreneurs, it's hard because we need to be good at everything, as many things as possible. But sometimes you just also have to kind of go look at yourself and be like, okay, this is probably something that I'm never going to be good at. No matter how hard I try, it's just never going to be the thing that I do. So for us, we had to actually bring someone into the team to actually help us with the community side of it. And so that was a huge help.
Yeah.
I love it. And then this brings me back to the concept of who versus how, right?
Yes.
And a lot of entrepreneurs, me included right here, I'm guilty of falling for the how. I love learning how to do everything, and I have a very hard time delegating how to do everything. So, I fall into, let me just take it on, my responsibility. And yeah, there's some things like you mentioned, right? Like, they might be your weaknesses, which for you might be, it's not that intuitive for me to jump on Facebook and do a live or do a class, etc. But there's somebody out there that is their strength, and we can actually find those people to do certain tasks for us. And that is challenging sometimes too. Let go of those. But the value in there is the bandwidth that gets released, because I can't even imagine the pressure that you let go of when you get this person to be, I don't know the name, the title, but the head of community, right, for Capsho. And
shout out to Chris, by the way.
Yeah, shout out to Chris. And, you know, like, I'm sure you are like, wow, I'm off. You know, I can take this off of my plate. Maybe there's some sort of reporting, right? Some KPIs that you, as, you know, the head of the company needs to check to make sure the community is growing, that is engaged, etc. But now your mental bandwidth is free to take on some of the challenges that, you know, are either higher on the order of your business, or that, you know, that you enjoy doing, and you can provide more value because now you're doing it from a place of, again, enjoyment.
Yeah, 100% correct.
I've been listening about Oppenheimer. Shout out to Ben Wilson and How to Take Over the World. Is the last episode, by the way, super awesome. Very special podcast. And driving here, I was listening when he was recruited to the team that developed the bomb, right? He apparently, like, he was like a top physicist in the world at that point already. And a lot of people were coming to him for either advice or different things. And they were debating to it, is he role like the leader of it, or is he going to be a researcher? And he was really good at being the researcher. But then there was another guy that was like really, really good at being the researcher, but not that good at leading the team, right? So eventually Oppenheimer gets appointed to be the leader, but he's all still doing some of the research. And he starts like developing his leadership skills and becomes better. And he gets to the point that where he has to make a decision where it's like, am I going to be the researcher, or am I actually going to be the leader? And his decision was, I'm going to be the leader. And it was because he was really good at all the areas and he knew about everything. And so he had like this amazing top level view of all the processing and all the things that they were working on. Even though he still was a really good researcher, he had to make that personal decision to be the leader and to make sure that then he could put the pieces in place. And he was not a natural leader. He had to actually learn to be a leader. He was actually very socially awkward during his life. And eventually he becomes like this incredible person that guides this project, you know, to develop this asset for the US military. So I think it's super interesting, right? As leaders, you know, this is something that initially when I first started, you know, the company with FONZI, like, we never really think about these things, right? It's like, okay, well, we start a content production agency at that point because we love creating video. We love like equipment. We love to be on the field filming and doing these things, right? And then that evolved into podcasting, and we loved how to do this. And, you know, you develop your own system and your own process. So then you have to teach it to a team. And a lot of people might see this as a challenge, obviously, but then it's like, when do you actually make the decision that you're not going to be attached to the process? And, you know, FONZI came to me the other day and he's like, dude, like, let's get you out of production. I'm still involved in some of the aspects of production, right? And it's like, well, you first, right? And then let's work on me after. And how can we continue to evolve as leaders in this company so we can continue to grow? So I thought that was an interesting take. And just with you, with the company, same thing, right? Like, you guys obviously are a technology company. So I'm curious, do you guys started that journey knowing that, or like, how was your transition doing that? Were you coding? Like, who was coding the thing, and what were some of those initial steps, right? Because a lot of people might be either, you know, in doing their job and then doing the thing, and then they might be looking for their first hire. Remember, first hire was so hard to make that decision. So I'm curious, like, how do you guys manage that process and that growth as you guys keep growing?
Yeah. Oh gosh, it's been all about trial and error. I'm not going to lie. So when we had our very, very first iteration of Capsho, which we launched in December 2021. So a while ago, it was very rudimentary. It wasn't even AI powered. It was more rules based. It was because we knew it was kind of an MVP. All we did at that time was we actually got an agency we just paid them money. They spent 4 to 6 weeks building our MVP product. That was just a thing that we needed to go to market with in terms of to actually assess how viable this was going to be.
Yeah.
And we went through a little bit of that was the beginning of last year, so from January to March, it was very much like it felt like a grind a little bit because we had this MVP. It wasn't really gaining traction. We were working with a coach at the time, and that was a moment when he was like, well, who are you actually targeting? Because we were like, maybe it's a messaging thing, which is not, we're just not able to attract people with our message. And he was like, well, no, it's actually an audience thing. You're just way too broad. And we might have spoken about this in the last episode that we did. And so when we actually decided to hone in, and we knew that we were onto something because of the traction that we were actually finally getting, we then made our first tech hire.
Okay.
So that was, so it was, and for some reason we got lucky because the person that we hired was exactly who we needed. Wow. He was, he knew, he was self-taught developer actually, but just loves learning, and he loves researching, and he loves finding the best solutions for what it is that we're trying to bring to life. Since then, we've been building out. So we have 3 people in our tech team. I think we actually maxed out at around 5 at some point. And that was through a process of, as I said, trial and error. Because we're not technical founders, and we have our CTO, our lead developer, is the only person, and he's trying to not only build and maintain Capsho as it was, but also we couldn't it wasn't fair to him to also put on top of that recruiting and vetting and interviewing and doing all those things. So we made a decision to be like, okay, we're going to bring these new developers in. They're on probation, and as non-technical co-founders, we would do what we can best as we can to vet them. Yeah. But really, it was going to be like trial by fire in a way, like just throw them in, get them to do a project for us. And if they could handle it and do that well, then awesome, they can stay. If not, then we just had to kind of unfortunately churn through them. So that was kind of how we built our tech team.
Yeah, I think it definitely needs to be some sort of not previous knowledge to be able to, properly vet these people, right? I mean, me personally, on my story has been working with video. I did a lot of editing. And then when the time came to hire editors, I knew what I was looking for. And I think on my end, more importantly, is when they're talking to me and they're sharing why they did certain things or how they're doing certain things, I can think of maybe more efficient ways to do that. Or they're even going to be teaching me things to me, but I can speak the same language. And I think we can both elevate ourselves in there. The other thing that I've heard that we personally haven't done, but I think it will be interesting in the future as we grow, is you hire in certain positions people from other companies that has already done that you're trying to do, right? Yeah. So obviously the incentive side of things, it could be challenging in there, right? Like how do you align incentives to bring somebody with such an experience, right? That they can, what people say is a A-type player. I think the conversation is a little bit different there on how do you bring those people into the team. That could definitely be a challenge.
Yeah. A lot of it is also, what's the direction of the company? Like what's our mission? Like who do we want to help? And trying to also find those people. So I think part of it is having a lot of conversations online. A lot of the people that we end up working with has been people either from the community that, that we've grown together, or connections and personal connections. And I think that's super, super exciting too, because sometimes as entrepreneurs or even content creators, right, we get in this little bubble of like, this is the way that I do it, and this is my thought process, and I'm going to do it. And then sometimes like we might build these walls and not go outside to different groups and share what we're doing. And by doing that, what's going to happen is a lot of people are going to be interested also. My belief initially was, man, like everybody's doing their own thing. They might not want to be a part of this mission that we're on, so we might have to look somewhere else. And it's been super interesting because we've got a lot of people that reach back out to us, be like, even though they're building their own thing, they might have a life event, and then they'll be like, you know what, maybe this is not for me, but I want to work with somebody that really wants to build something exciting. I just want to be a part of that. So I encourage everybody to look into the communities that you're in, right? Like if you're hiring, your first video editor, or, your team member, or your lead of community, whoever your operators, right? Go back into the communities that you're part of, that you provide value. And those are probably the closest ones because they're already familiar with your network. So I'm stoked Now, Deirdre, the last 2 years, the last 2 years have been crazy, right? In the technology side, a lot has moved things forward. So, in a general sense, you guys are AI powered tool. There's a ton of AI powered tools, and I think, we like to tinker a ton with a ton of stuff. So we're like, play with this and play with this. Our Instagram feeds are full of like shared like reels of like this new tech tools that are coming up every single day.
Now I skip them so fast. I'm like, I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
It's like, focus mode. What are you guys doing to cut through that noise, right? There's so much out there.
Yes. Oh, gosh. Okay. So at the end of the day, we had to think about, and this kind of comes back to even the initial conversation we're having around community. What is it that there's a few angles that you can come at this with. And the one that for us was like, we have to stay true to this is we always start with our values, right? Like, what is it that we stand for? Yeah. And at the end of the day, for us, there's two main, there's a lot of things, but two main things, which is success and delight. Like, how do we help our Capshovians succeed? And then how do we delight them in the process? And so even when that's everything from the product to the comms to community. And so even when we are looking to hire people in and to delegate, it's like at the end of the day, this is what success and delight. So you have full remit, Chris or Rafi, whoever's joined our team, to do everything in your power within your roles to help our Capshovians or the rest of our team members succeed and then delight them in the process. Yeah. And that's kind of like how we've been operating for the last year or so. And so that's always our starting point. And I think to come back to this question around like, how do we get the cut through? Like that at the end of the day is how we've been able to do it, because we are so invested in helping people succeed. So, the masterclass that you did with us, Luis, like that was by design because it was, because we had a new feature for sure. But at the end of the day, if people don't know how to use that feature, or they don't, like if we can't help them succeed in the thing that they're trying to do, which is how do I very easily and quickly create really compelling social, because I know I need to be on social media, but it's a pain in the, back side.
That's why companies like ours exist, just saying.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah.
And so that's like, and so it was like, okay, who can we partner with who knows their ish and can actually help our Capshovian succeed? And obviously you came to mind around this. And so like that's really how we're getting the cut through, which is like they can see how invested we are in them because we truly are. That's our whole ethos. And that's what we're just always going to continue doing. Like, how do we just continue, even the way that the product is going to change, and it is going to change and it's going to iterate. It's going to be at the end of the day because we want our Capshovians to succeed.
That's awesome. I like that North Star. That's been a conversation that I've had with my personal coach for a long time. It's like, what's that North Star? Initially, it's like there was no star. There's many, and there's like, how do we pick that one, right? And as a personal development journey as well, like building something like this is really interesting because you start peeling off these layers, either from your team or yourself, where do we truly believe in what we're doing, right? Like, why do we want we shared this story a while back, but it's like, why do we want people to publish? Why do we want to help them put their message there? For us was because it provided the opportunities to live a life that we want to live, right? It is giving us the tools to get to the point that we want to get to, and we want more people to experience something like that. We came from Venezuela. There's this whole backstory of things that maybe in the past would not be possible, and this is our way out, and we want to see people getting to that point as well. And that's something that we've been developing over the last, few years of doing something like this. It's not clear from the very beginning, it started as in like, we actually need some money to pay for food tomorrow, right? But it continues to evolve, and I think that's something that drives a ton of people. So thank you for sharing that.
Actually, I was listening to a podcast earlier today, pretty good podcast. Lex Friedman, I don't know if you guys listen to it. His conversations are long, but I feel like I get smarter every time I listen to his podcast. And his guest, right, it was Jared Kushner. He said, and this quote is actually from Alice in Wonderland, but he said, if you don't know where you're going, it doesn't matter which path you take, right? And he was talking in the political context, but I think it aligns perfectly with business, right? And the value of having that North Star, right? If you don't know where you're going, it doesn't matter which path you take. And if you don't know where you're going, you're just going to take any path at any given point, right? Which can be shiny object syndrome, etc. But if you know exactly where you're going, right, then you can either create that path that you need to go through, right, or grab a path that has been tested before to achieve those goals. And I think that's very, very important. And going to our conversation last time, you were about to release Capsho 2.0, right, at that time. And I think that was your North Star at the moment. Now, obviously, you released it. Now you have the community. The North Star probably has evolved a little bit. But I'm curious, right, like what is now? It seems like you guys know where you're going. So I'm curious, now after Capsho 2.0, after starting the community and growing the community, what is that next step? What are you guys going right now?
Oh gosh, are you asking from a product perspective?
From both. I would like to know from product perspective, from community, which we've been talking about today,
well,
right?
First is definitely to success or delight.
I mean,
let's just start there.
Yeah, those values. I like that. I like the fact that you have those values clear.
Yeah, that is obviously at the end of the day what's going to drive us. It's really interesting when you say, we all start for different reasons. Definitely we always start from a more like selfish, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but like from a selfish reason, right? Like for you it was, how do you make, and a lot of us do, it was just like, how do we make money? And for us we started was like, well, this is a really cool problem to solve, and there's this really cool new tech, it's not even new, but like there's this new I keep saying new, but there's this technology that we can plug into it, and then it goes into, okay, well, we have to start thinking a little bit deeper.
Yeah,
and that's where 2.0 came out, because at the time it was like ChatGPT and stuff, like there was all of these, to your point, all of these AI solutions out there. So how do we start to differentiate yourself? And it was very much from a product perspective, where we were like 2.0 was going to help hopefully by putting more almost like barriers into it. It was just totally counterintuitive to make it less seamless in a way. It was designed like that so that people would actually be forced to interact with their content, and that's kind of like, we call that humane with AI, humane, humane editor, humane marketing. And now it's very much like even our evolution. So now what we're thinking about is, okay, that's been great. And we've been very much coming from a tool, like a product perspective. Now that we have people in our community and we're talking to them each and every day, it's like, we're coming back to what is the true problem that we're helping solve for. And that's going to be actually what's next for us, which is really going deep on the actual problem, like what's said, but what's also not said. Yeah. And how do we actually give people, our Capshovians, what it is that they need and want to get the result that they're after. So that's what's next for us.
So good. And I want to tell you something that's happening in a couple months, by the way. So with you guys, that aligns with all of this. But before we go there, I'm curious, like, you guys have pretty big fans. I mean, we see you guys at every single event, and every time we go to your table, it's like this group of incredible people that are there, and they don't want to leave, and they're just chatting, and you're like, hey, have you met Luis? And they're like, but Capsho, like, and then they, talk so good about you guys, and I think, a level of a lot of brands would like to be at that level with like their power users or their users in general, right? Especially in a day of a lot of options, right? Mm-hmm. And that to me has been super exciting to see, and I respect you guys so much for it, because I'm like, man, like that's so cool that they're able to build that strong bond in many ways. But before you get to that, right, and you wow them with your product and your service and like your community and the other people in there, you gotta get them through the door. So I'm very curious, like, what has been some of the most effective ways that you guys have been able to market to people and actually get them using your software? A lot of people are like, wow, well, that's great in community, but if I don't have a community, right, if I don't have somebody using my product and getting that feedback, will you be open to share some of that?
Yeah, for sure. And this actually ties in with the thing that we're going to be announcing, because it actually, that's this question that you're asking is pretty much the core focus of what it is that we're going to be focusing on. And so the quick answer to what it is, the way that I like to think about it, I call it the traffic pyramid. And this is what I always come back to go what are we doing and are we doing it effectively? And so I'll just quickly run through it. So the bottom is just what I call passive organic marketing. And that's just the content creation, right? That's just like, let's just turn the microphone on, let's just turn the video on and just record. And let's just create the social media assets that we need. And we can put them out there. But then as you know, and everyone else knows, like there's only so much that just publishing does. That's almost the beginning. Because then we go into the second tier, which is the active organic marketing, which is how do we now activate those assets, those things that we've created to actually have them working. This is where optimization comes in. This is where, and that's why I said at the beginning, it's like, it's really bad when I'm on social media and I'm not, social, because that's actually how you have social media working for you, right? Like you have to be engaging and you have to be making friends on those platforms. And so that's the second tier. And you guys are really, really great at this, which is why I invited you to be part of this thing that we're going to be doing in January. And then the third tier is what I call leveraging other people's audiences, which is how do you do things like this? Like how do you leverage podcasts, or how do you leverage platforms that you create yourself as well? Because we create a lot of platforms to basically give. And with that giving is how we're also going to get, because that's just how the world works, right? Like you give and you get. And so when I look at that, I just always hone in on, are we doing things the most effectively in those three areas? And that's, to answer your question, that's how we've grown Capsho. And that's how from that traffic pyramid, that's how we've gotten people, we've bridged them into things like our email list, things like our community, things like our actual product. That's really what we've done.
So cool. So let's talk about what's happening in January. FONZI doesn't know.
I know, excited. I'm here like watching my watch. Like, are we gonna run out of time before we actually get to this part?
I mean, this is a pretty big deal, right? When you approached, me, you were like, oh my god, like we were so excited. At the same time, we were so nervous, right? This is the first time that we're gonna be doing something like this. So tell us all about it, Deidre, and then I'll add some of the comments on my end.
Yeah, so I am so excited because Luis is going to be a speaker at our first ever Capshovians Live.
Let's go!
Wow.
I know, FONZI didn't make the cut. Just want to put that out there.
He was hard to catch. What can I say?
I know.
Deidre, I know. You didn't want to tell anybody that I was actually the keynote. No, kidding. I'm kidding.
You're the keynote in the other event, at the other stage. So it's super cool. So basically we, again, and this is why community is so important to us, because we were like, all right, we're doing a ton of things virtually that we can get people, in, and we actually got feedback. They were like, you're giving too much value that is almost overwhelming. And so we're like, oh, okay, right. How do we kind of not only scale that back, but also create a place where we could go deep and actually help set people up with the roadmap, the playbook that they need to actually create success. And so that was really the genesis of Capshovians Live. It's a 2-day event in Orlando, Jan 23rd and 24th of 2024. And we have 12 expert speakers, but it's not kind of one of those events where you go and choose a track and you can, there's one stage, and it literally goes into my strategy. So there's one strategy, and then each of the speakers will actually talk about going deep into one specific component of that strategy. And it's not to say that everyone is going to do exactly everything that it's going to be like, okay, where are you at your business? Which bit do you really need to focus on? And let's go for that person. Let's go deep into that. So it's really cool. It's for entrepreneurs who are creating content, because that, as you know, content is profit. So you got to be creating content. But really, it's like, how do we help these entrepreneurs grow their traffic? How do they get grow an audience, how do they bridge that audience into a place that they can leverage? Because we need to think about building assets in our business. And that comes down to leverage. And so we're going to be talking about that and what those places are and how you do that. And then how do you actually monetize and build a community around that audience?
I'm so
That's exciting.
stoked. I mean, I'm very honored. Also, I'm going to put it out there. I'm super nervous. I want to perform. I want to be like so good, right? And in part it's like you guys have been incredible and in allowing us to be part of your community and giving us a chance to do something like this. But I'm also very excited for the people that are going to attend this event in Orlando. I'm stoked. I mean, for those that are listening, we're in Jacksonville, Florida. We're about a couple hours away from Orlando. So if you're listening here, if you're part of our studio, you're more than welcome, right? We're going to be reaching out to you and letting you know how can you get those tickets. If you're so interested, let us know as well. Send us a DM. But also, we've been in so many events, and to the point that there's been some events that have been really useful in the past, but then they become so overwhelming once you know, kind of like the direction that you want to go, and then you're like, man, maybe that's not the event I really want to go at this time, because I get more confused that actually find a real direction. And when you came to us and you were like, hey, this is really what we're planning to do, I felt super identified with that because we're like, this is exactly what, Luis needed a couple years back to continue on like that straight path of, progress and momentum and actionable, items that we can actually put into effect like that same day, right? Not so long ago, a big event that we've been big fans of. We invested a lot of money to go to these events. It was the first year that we decided, hey, we're actually not going to go to this, because it can get really overwhelming and confusing, and it felt great,
Yeah, and I need a breather.
FONZI needed a breather, yeah. You were up in Virginia at that point, right? I think.
I know, having a breather, and it felt nice.
Yeah. So I'm excited for this because for the people that you really want to help, I think this is going to be useful, and it's going to give them a roadmap of, hey, this is the actual steps to move forward and create that momentum in their business. Yes. So I'm super stoked. Thank you again for allowing us to be part of that.
Yeah, I'm excited. No, you're going to be awesome. I'm going to make sure you're going to be awesome.
I know. We could talk about all the behind the scenes. I know. If
I'll clip this part of the conversation, and when I see him slacking, I'll randomly play it in front of him, like, whoops, and he'll be like, "Oh my gosh, this is my commitment."
Deidre, you'll be my nightmares and everything. No, I'm kidding. By the way, I've been like working out like crazy because I want to be looking good. When I'm out there. Yeah, let's go.
Wait, what type of show are we talking about? Are we still talking about like the business event?
I don't want to be wearing a large t-shirt. I want to be wearing a medium t-shirt and looking good. Let's go. No, I'm kidding.
Good stuff. Hey, that's part of it. You feel good, you do good, right? So if you feel good, you're gonna perform on stage.
Fun fact: the U.S. Army, and in every branch, they're allowed one cosmetic surgery per soldier. So, and it's because of that concept. If you look good, you feel good. And it's either you or your spouse. So, which is crazy. I learned that this morning.
That's interesting. I mean, not that I care that much about it, but I'm like, it's like, do they get like fake abs? No.
I mean, for the example I saw, it was the women, they wanted, some enhancements in their breast area. So, that's what they did. But if you look good, you feel good, and you do good, right?
Interesting. Definitely a topic of conversation. Deidre, I've had a question in my mind since you said the date of the event, and I'm curious. This doesn't really apply as much about like, the value Capsho is going to deliver during that event. My mind right now is mostly going to why you're doing it on those dates. And I'm just curious because I think it's a valuable strategy. My mind goes back to when we went to our first Funnel Hiking Live, actually. This was like, 5 years ago. And that year, our mentor had an event like the day before the main event of Florida, of Funnel Hiking Live, right? And it was at the hotel, like, next to the main hotel where the event was. And we didn't realize that it was such a smart move because, people didn't really have to travel for their event, but they were like, oh, I'm already here. I better attend this event. So he kind of like, piggy ride? Yeah, like piggyback. Yeah, he piggybacked from the main event, and they build theirs. And I was like, this is genius. Like, this is such a smart move, right? You're bringing all the people under the same roof, etc. So I was curious, was that what you guys are doing? Because I'm pretty sure around those dates, there's a pretty big podcasting event. And I think there's a good lesson in here for people that are trying to grow anything, right? Which is go find your audience. Where is your audience at the moment, and what can you, attach to them at that point in time that you can promote yourself as well?
Yeah, for sure. Yes, that's a good point. So Podfest is happening Jan 25th to 28th. So literally our event is going to be the 2 days before Podfest. And that's also why for the first, because this is our event, Capsho Live is going to be a super intimate event, like super tight. That's why I'm like so excited because, each of the speakers, you're going to be able to hang out with speakers essentially. You're going to be able to go like, okay, I need to go deep into this particular thing. Like, help me out here. And so basically for the first 33 that sign up to Capsho Live, so we're capping it at 50 total. The first 33 actually also get a free ticket to Podfest as part of the Capsho Live ticket.
That's cool.
And so, so it was totally by design because we're supporters of Podfest anyway, regardless. But it just made sense to be like, well, hey, we're going to be in the area anyway. Let's put our event here. Let's also have people come to Podfest who were at Capsho Live because then they can tell everyone else how awesome Capsho Live was.
Absolutely. I think that is such a big brain move. I'm not gonna lie. It is amazing. It's only the second time I've seen it. And honestly, I've knew obviously about it because we experienced it, but I never valued it the same as I'm valuing it now because of you sharing that you guys are gonna do it. And I think it's such a genius move. On my mind, it's already going like, let's partner for the next podcast movement, whatever is going to go and have an event together, right? Yeah. My brother can do the talking. He can be on stage. He can be the famous one. I'm okay with that.
As long as you get, good film and capture my good angles, we're good.
I'm just going to say that presentation, you're going to have to practice it a few times. It needs my self-approval. Before you go out there,
fun fact, as we wrap up for today, every time we go to speak at an event, I'm like, hey, I got this presentation. I got it down, and FONZI is like, he's never heard of it. Like the first time that he hears the presentation is like when I actually deliver it. So like his nerves are through the roof. For like the last 5 years, it's been like that. But I always deliver, and he comes up, but bro, that was good. That was actually really good. So it's okay. We can practice it.
Yeah.
I'll practice it with you.
Practice makes perfect.
But Deirdre, where can people go to get these tickets?
Yes, capshovianslive.com. Go there, grab your ticket now. We're still in early bird pricing, so it's going to be packed with value and also packed with swag. We're already thinking about all the swag that we're going to be. I know. It's going to be so much fun. And you'll be able to hang out with Luis and FONZI both in person.
Yeah, I'll be there in a corner, resenting my brother. No, I'm kidding. And his fame.
That's the week before his birthday. So, you better give him a pat in the back. But
I see here you got a few familiar faces. That's really cool. Some of these people have been in Content is Profit. That's pretty awesome.
Oh, yeah. Capshovianslive.com. Guys, we're going to leave the link right below in the description.
Also, you could have sent a picture with color. Yours is the only one that's black and white in there.
I'm different like that. You're like, who's that guy? But anyways, guys, the link is right below. All you got to do is scroll down, click it. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Send us a DM, send us a message in whatever platform. It's us in there. And Deidre, it's so awesome. I'm so glad that we were able to catch up for episode 450. Let's go. Official 450.
Let's go.
You got a nice number in there.
Yeah, it's a good number.
Do you have anything else that you want to share with us before we head out?
No, I think I'm just excited. I'm really, really looking forward to seeing people from this community at Capsho Live as well. We're going to have a ton of fun, and we're just gonna rock it.
Yeah, let's go. FONZI, anything else?
No, I appreciate you, your friendship, even though I know I disappear at times, but I just want to make sure that you know that I value you guys and that the brownies that, your husband makes are delicious.
It was so good.
Yeah.
We were like eating 5 of them before the plane last time. We were like, eat them all. They're so good.
Yeah. Are you going to have some of those brownies in the event? Just saying.
We may.
You may throw them as an early bird, offer.
Yeah, we may have some different ones. I don't know. You'll have to come and find out.
You have to come. Yep.
Nope, I'm sold.
Guys, with that said, thank you so much for tuning to the Continuous Profit Podcast. Go ahead and follow the show in your favorite podcasting platform and social media at BizBrosCo.
That is right. I'm Deidre here, helping move one step closer towards your goal. Please don't forget to share this episode and leave a 5-star review. And don't forget to go to capshovianslive.com and get your tickets now. All right, see ya.
Bye, guys.